Okay, so for today's warm-up activity, we're going to do a function review. And if you notice that we are going to do 4 different things, we're going to create a function and we're going to express it using words. We're going to express it using a table, or I should say describe it using a table. We're going to describe it using a graph and an equation. So we're going to take a function, we're going to put it in 4 different forms. So we're going to use words, a table, a graph, and an equation. All right, so I'm going to zoom in now that you've seen all of it. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to think of a function and we're going to write words about it. I'm going to make something up. So let's see. How about Stephanie makes $12 an hour babysitting. So that's a very simple function. Every hour she babysits, she makes $12. So that is a function expressed in words. Now we're going to take that function and we're going to put it into a table. So the input would be, let's use a different color. The input would be hours. How many hours she babysat. And that would decide how much money she makes. So we can say earnings in dollars. Okay. So let's think about it. If she doesn't work at all, she works 0 hours, how much money does she make? $0. If she works 1 hour, she makes $12. 2 hours, 2 times 12 would be 24. 3 hours, 3 times 12 would be 36. So we have just expressed that function in a table. 2 more forms we're going to discuss. Next one would be a graph. So I want to first, let's scale our axes. So if my input, if you look back at your table, my input would be my x values. They go from 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we don't need to really scale by much. So 1, 2, 3. And then the output, or the y values, go from 0 to 36. So maybe we go up by 6. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36. Now we can plot our points. Let's use black. Do a bigger one. So when she worked 0 hours, she made $0. When she worked 1 hour, she made $12. When she worked 2 hours, she made $24. And when she worked 3 hours, she made $36. Now here's the question, should we connect those points? Is this discrete or continuous? So your question you need to ask yourself is it possible for Stephanie to babysit 1.5 hours? Is it possible for her to babysit 1 hour and 10 minutes? What about 2 hours and 1 minute? And if all of those in-between times do make sense to the story, then we would connect. So she would just continue to earn more and more money, but she could earn money in between the 0 and 1 hour time, or 1 hour and 2 hours. All right, lastly, we're going to take what we know from the words, $12 an hour, looking at the table, looking at the graph, and we're going to write an equation. So just for review, I'm going to show you the equation in both slope-intercept form and point-slope form. All right. So slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. M is your slope. So let's go over to the graph, or you could go to your table. How much do I rise and how much do I run? So it looks like I rose 12, and I'm going to erase this in a second. So it looks like I rose 12 and ran 1. So that would mean the same thing as just 12. So if I erase that and just put 12, that is good enough for my slope. So 12x plus my y-intercept would be on the end. And if you look over at your graph, the y-intercept is 0. So you could write plus 0 if you want to kind of have that placeholder there, or you could erase it and just leave it y equals 12x. X would be hours. 12 would be how much she makes per hour. Y is her total earnings. Now we could do point slope form. So again, if you remember, it is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to start plugging things in. I already know the slope is 12. I found that from my previous one. So 12 goes where the m is. And then your x1 and your y1 are just any points on your graph. So if I erase this x1 and this y1, all you're going to do is put any point you want into those two slots. So just for fun, I'm going to use 2, 24. That's on my graph. So x minus my x coordinate, which is 2, y minus my y coordinate, which is 24. There are infinitely many answers to point slope form. There is only one slope intercept form. Okay? I kind of connect, if I zoom out a little bit, say I was a little confused about writing my forms, my equations from the graph. What if you were asked to write them from the table? What you would do to find your slope is you'd figure out what is the change in y over the change in x. So my change in y was plus 12 each time. And my change in x looks like it was plus 1 each time. So that's how I could figure out what the slope is based off of the table. My slope would be 12. And then anytime you're trying to find your y-intercept, you're always looking for when x is 0. So this would be my y-intercept. When x is 0, whatever the y value is would be your y-intercept.